Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Normal America Show. Your guest, what am I talking about? Guest. I'm going to be a guest in my own show. Your host, Robert Knorr. I had a night where, normally I'm up by 7 o'clock. Man, I woke up 10 minutes ago, so I apologize if I seem just a little out of it. I don't know why. I had a good night watching Adam Sandler movies, new ones with my wife. None of them very good. I don't know why. We were just on a kick. I wanted to watch action movies. The wife wanted to watch something funny. We got neither. But what's up, 6079? Thank you on D Live. For those of you tuning in, I am on YouTube, D Live, Periscope, Twitch, and also on Podbean. If you happened to watch on Podbean yesterday in just audio format, podcast format, unfortunately, I still have not figured out how to get my guest, if I have a guest, how to get their audio on Podbean. So I sound like a maniac as I had a guest for the last 40 to 50 minutes of the show, and anyone who listened on the podcast was unable to hear the guest comments. But I assure you, I did awesome. So there was a guest, as the people watching on YouTube, D Live, Twitch, and Periscope can tell you. So I'm not a lunatic. I actually was talking to a human being. But it might even be funnier to just hear me without the guests, thinking I'm just going crazy, talking to voices in my head. Not that far from the truth. But I woke up late. I don't know why. I just slept in for some reason. But that's all right. I'm here at 8. Just a programming note. Today's show will only go to probably 9 o'clock. The reason for that is I got a call yesterday saying that we're going to have a planned power outage. So I guess that means my internet will go out, even though the battery on my computer will still keep going. As you know, without the internet, it will be difficult to do the show. So this show will probably only be an hour long, but that's okay. We'll pack a lot into an hour, and it'll be a good show. But I'll go right up until the power goes out, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. Also, and once we get more people in here, I'll bring this up again, but I will be debating like 5 hours tonight. Starts at 6 o'clock. It'll be on this channel. And that's going to be a debate on Biden's corruption. And then there will be a separate one of these 8-person panel debates with Twitch streamer Destiny, who's kind of a big Twitch streamer on the left, about who we should elect, Biden or Trump. So should be a good time. I don't know. I've kind of cut back on the debates because I've been busy, but now that we're getting really close to the election, I'm trying to put out as much content as possible, including my 24-hour stream that's coming up. So some good news on that stream. It is still my stream. It is still Rob Knorr doing 24 hours. However, the people that I do Pennsylvania Patriot Radio with, Todd Bartley and Carlos Saldivia, they're actually going to help me produce the show and join me as guest for a considerable portion of it. Some of the guests I have lined up are impressive. I can't say, but that would be the most well-known. But I have a lot of politicians at the state level and even congressmen. I have at least one congressman that's going to be joining me. Yes, I will have state congressmen in Pennsylvania, but also a federal Washington, D.C. congressman. So it should be a good opportunity for my show to kind of have a bigger guest and kind of prove to some people that, maybe that I deserve to have a bigger audience. Don't you think, 6079? Yes, Rob. Thank you. Fantastic. So let's just dive right in since I probably only have an hour. I wanted to talk about the media. Yesterday's show, which I thought was a fantastic show, and I'll talk a little about the call-in there at the end of it. But the goal was to talk about tech censorship and media censorship. We didn't get much to the media angle of it. So I thought that was a good place to start today. And the format that I choose to do with that is this story about Glenn Greenwald. Now, Glenn Greenwald, for those of you who don't know, he basically was the journalist that broke the Snowden story. So he was the journalist that Snowden came to, and then Glenn Greenwald broke this story of Snowden releasing all the information about the spying apparatus, which I think was basically criminal that was being done by our government, spying on us, the American people. We saw that Clapper lied about that when he said the NSA didn't wittingly collect data on us. That's a lie. Clapper should be in prison right now for that lie. Not only did he lie to Congress, that's the same sort of crime they tried to throw people connected to Trump in jail for, but it was an important lie. He lied about our Fourth Amendments being taken away, our right to privacy. He lied to the American people in front of Congress about it. And we know that because of Snowden, Edward Snowden. And Glenn Greenwald was the journalist who broke that. Now, let me be straight up about Glenn Greenwald. A lot of my audience will not like Glenn Greenwald's politics. He is a big left-winger. He does not like President Trump. He lives in Brazil. The right-wing government of Brazil and him have had a lot of problems. Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, has came after Greenwald, accused him of all sorts of things, tried to jail him. That's who Glenn Greenwald is. He is probably, I would think he would consider himself a progressive. If I got a chance to talk to Glenn Greenwald and we were talking about our political beliefs, I'm sure we would disagree about 90% of things. However, that's not what's most important to me. I've said this a million times if I've said it once. I can respect someone who I disagree with, who is authentic, more than someone who claims to agree with me, but is inauthentic. In other words, someone who's not a hypocrite, even if I disagree with them, I like that person. Someone who's not a liar, I like that person more than someone that claims, like for example, Mitt Romney claims to be a conservative. Glenn Greenwald, as far as I'm concerned, is 50 times the man that Mitt Romney is. Right, and Glenn Greenwald's very non-establishment, which I would share that with him. But I think it's funny that Glenn Greenwald comes in a tradition of many people on the left that I actually think are doing a better job than almost everyone on the right of pointing out sort of the corruption that comes with the tech companies, the media companies, and things like that. For example, Glenn Greenwald was all over the Russia hoax. He was reporting it early and often how it was all garbage. It was deep state garbage going after Donald Trump. So was Aaron Mattei, another great journalist. So was Michael Tracy. So was Jimmy Dore, who's not a journalist. He's more of a content creator like me, super left-wing. All of these people were super left-wing people, but they were doing a fantastic job pointing out how corrupt the deep state is and their coup attempt against Trump with this Russia story. Though I don't know if they'd call it a coup attempt. But in a nutshell, that's Glenn Greenwald. So he founded a news or journalist site called The Intercept. And that was Glenn Greenwald's site. Now, it focused on politics from a left-wing perspective, but this was supposedly a journalist outlet. The Intercept, at the exact same time that its founder, Glenn Greenwald, was calling out the Russia collusion hoax, his magazine or his website, The Intercept, every other journalist there was basically pushing the Russia collusion hoax. So you had the founder of the source that's like, this story's garbage. It's basically corruption, an example of corruption from our intel communities working in tandem with the Democratic Party and the media. And yet everyone that worked for him in this company was like, no. The Steele dossier is true. Trump colluded with Russia. So I always thought it was a weird relationship because, you'd see Glenn Greenwald say something, I'd say, let me check out the rest of The Intercept. And everything else in The Intercept's going the opposite way. Yesterday, Glenn Greenwald officially resigned from The Intercept. And his reasoning was that they were censoring him as he tried to write an article showing the Biden's corruption. Good morning, Shawnee. Think about that for a second. This guy founds a journalist site. He's the guy who's basically best known for pointing out corruption. Other than Julian Assange, I think Glenn Greenwald would be the next journalist that you would say, this guy, he put the Snowden papers out there. He's all about pointing out the establishment corruption. He founds a journalist site dedicated to doing that. And he's forced to resign because they end up censoring him when he tries to do what he's been doing for years. Point out the corruption of the establishment. But they can't have that. Now, this story is a metaphor, and it's not even a metaphor, it's a signal. It is just the starkest example of how corrupt our media has become. When even a progressive starts a journalist site dedicated to ending corruption and pointing out corruption, and he's forced to leave because everyone he hires from that site decides to censor him when he tries to out corruption that harms their side. Now, if you think, or if you see that Glenn Greenwald can't even get stories out at his own paper without it being censored, what do you think that means for the rest of the media? What do you think that means for more of the big multinational companies that own their media corporations? You think their journalists are allowed to report on this? You don't think there's pressure from inside, say, the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN? You don't think there's pressure there to do everything they can to help Joe Biden and bury any story critical of him? If Glenn Greenwald and his own newspaper can't report on it, you think someone can at CNN? This scandal is arguably bigger than the Biden scandal. The Biden scandal is huge. Basically working in tandem with the exact same enemies that they accused Trump of working with. Using the media, using the Democratic Party to impeach Trump to stop investigations into the Biden corruption. Knowing that Joe Biden is probably bought and paid for by the communist government of China, our biggest adversary, and yet may be president of the United States. That is an epic scandal. Epic. And it goes right along with what I consider the biggest scandal in the history of the country. The fact that the media, the Democrats, and the intel agencies used unverified opposition research to engage in a coup by spying on the president of the United States. The Biden story goes right in with that. But arguably just as big is this scandal of the media refusing to cover anything critical of Joe Biden, while at the same time pushing any garbage, unverified, anonymous sourced, no physical evidence that'll smear Donald Trump or his allies. That's right, 6079. Keep both hands on the wheel of your own creation, he says. In other words, anyone, like I'm trying to get a bigger channel. Some of you out there might be trying to do something more and work with people. And 6079 makes a great point. Make sure that you're firmly in control of what you're doing, of the projects you're creating, because it could quickly get out of hand. I'm sure Glenn Greenwald trusted these people he was hiring. I'm sure he did. And look how that turned out. So that's a great point. Now, let me take a moment. One of the things I try to do, I hope as yesterday's show was evidence of, I try to talk to people on both sides of the aisle. And I hope that I have people on both sides of the aisle listening. Let me make a case to the people on the left, maybe the Joe Biden supporter or just a Democrat. Maybe you're a Bernie supporter, Elizabeth Warren supporter, whatever. Let me make a case to you why this media scandal story is something that should scare the crap out of you, okay? What if they turn on your candidate? What would you do? Let's say you're a Bernie supporter and God willing, Bernie's longevity keeps up and he's enthusiastic and energetic in 4 years and he wants to run again because he thinks that whoever won this election did a poor job. And let's say he has a lot of support. And all of a sudden the media, maybe let's say Joe Biden wins this election. But Bernie's like, I don't like the fact that Biden didn't do these progressive politics that I thought he would, so I'm going to primary him. Okay? Let's just talk about that scenario for a moment. Do you think the media isn't going to be in the tank for Joe Biden versus Bernie Sanders? Or more likely Kamala Harris at that point versus Bernie Sanders? You really think that Bernie's going to get a fair shake after you saw them rip him off in 2012 and 2016? You think the media is going to be fair-minded about that? Let's say that they start to say, look at Jeremy Corbyn, arguably a Bernie ally in the UK. I haven't looked at the specifics of it, but he's being admonished for being an anti-Semite. Who's to say that smear, even if it's not true, gets applied to Bernie Sanders? Oh, Bernie Sanders, he has a bunch of anti-Semites. He hates the Jewish people. Oh, but Bernie's Jewish, isn't he? Doesn't matter. He hates them. He said that Jews are the great Satan. Now, you as a Bernie supporter might be like, he never said that. Where? Show me the video. Too bad. The media decides to push it. Tech companies decide to censor you when you're trying to speak out, defending Bernie. What are you going to do? Do you trust that the multinational corporations that control our mainstream media, do you trust they have the American people's best interests in mind? If you're a left-winger, do you think that they identify with your left-wing politics? You think these billion-dollar corporations, they care about the little people? Yet you're happy to give them the control of information? You're happy to have them censor people or censor stories that are critical of people that disagree with them? Think about what you're asking for. Think about what you're signing on to. What happens if they get a president? Let's look in the future. Let's look 10 years in the future. And let's say, God forbid, Jeb Bush is elected, right? What if Jeb Bush decides, just like his brother, he's going to take us to some war somewhere? And all the media goes, yep, yeah, we're going to go along with this. And the tech companies say, yep, and we're going to censor anyone who says, wait a minute, why are we going to this war? We're going to take that out. We're not going to cover any story that shows that the reason we're going to this war is a lie. We're not going to cover them. Is that the world you want to live in? Epic says, what if big tech starts censoring leftism if they aren't already? They will. And it's funny because I talk to these people. Look, make no bones about it. I dislike Black Lives Matter. I dislike the progressive politics. I think that it's toxic. However, I, almost the only person in the country, have been warning Black Lives Matter and people that support them. I said, listen, here's the deal. You're just being used as pawns by the establishment left. As soon as they gain power, they're going to discard you. That's what's going to happen. Mark my words. When I talk to people on the progressive left and I do these debates and they are self-avowed Marxist or whatever, Antifa supporters, Black Lives Matter supporters, one of the things I say all the time is like, look, you keep talking about systemic racism and institutional racism. Show me an institution in this country that doesn't support Black Lives Matter. Is it corporations? Nope, they support them. Is it Silicon Valley? Nope, they support them. Entertainment industry? Nope, they support them. The media? Nope, they support them. Show me an institution. How is this a revolution if it's sponsored by Nike? Nike could run sweatshops overseas. Oh, but it's all forgiven because they support Black Lives Matter. Starbucks supports Black Lives Matter. Amazon supports Black Lives Matter. You name the corporation. But we're supposed to say that this is a revolution from the bottom up that's sponsored by Nike? That's what you believe? And every single one of them have told me this. Well, it's not that the corporations actually support the goals of Black Lives Matter. They just see that it's trendy to do so now and it'll help their business. Okay, well, if you believe that, don't you also understand that these corporations control our flow of information? And so if we can see them so blatantly right now attacking Donald Trump and being as corrupt as possible to bury stories critical of Joe Biden, you don't see the danger in that? I mean, clearly they're not doing this for altruistic reasons because these big multinational corporations think, oh, we really care about the American people and Donald Trump's just so evil. That's not their motivation. You just admitted it with the Black Lives Matter thing. They're just pretending. They just want to help their bottom line. So are you comfortable right now voting in a way that endorses that and endorsing the mainstream media engaged in this corruption, knowing that it's going to be used against you and your ideals immediately after the Democrats regain power? And 6079, another great point. He says, stooges and useful idiots are the first to get purged once the initial opposition is overcome. History, history, history. Liberals get the bullet too. That's what's happening. The DOJ and the FBI have confirmed the resources released about the Biden scandal. They've confirmed the emails. They've confirmed Toby Bobulinski's story. We now know that there is an active FBI investigation into Hunter Biden involving money laundering. Yet the media refuses to cover the story. The one who tube says some of your comments are not showing up. They're literally stopping your speech. Not sure what words I'm triggering. I don't know. I don't have anything set up that would be censoring you, and I haven't had a mod delete anyone's comments forever, so I'm not sure, OneWhoTubes. It's unfortunate, though. Maybe someone in the chat would know more about it than me, but I have no clue. Go to D Live. They won't censor you, I assure you. But yeah, YouTube's garbage. I'm puzzled. Like, it's, let me get on a little rant here. If I may. I'm frustrated. I mean, I think the low point in my year, politically wise, and let me clearly say this again. What you see here, me doing politics, this isn't who I am 24/7. I do this. I'm a very happy person when I'm with my wife. I'm very happy when I'm hanging out with friends, when I'm at work. I am. I'm not someone who puts politics in everything. I have friends that are incredibly left-wingers that hate Trump. We can hang out all the time. No problem. It's okay, right? So don't think that I'm some miserable person. I've learned to separate. But I am trying to do my best with politics. I am. And I think it matters. And it's something that I'm interested in. So I am authentic. What you see here is part of who I am as well. But for me, I just say that. Don't think I'm depressed or anything like that. I'm not. I'm a very happy person. I'm going to be a dad for the first time here January 6th. So I'm ecstatic. But that's the only reason I bring that up. For me, though, the low point politically was in March when President Trump endorsed lockdowns. And you could argue till you're blue in the face. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. He applauded Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, for his lockdown. He applauded Cuomo for his lockdown. And he admonished Georgia for not locking down. And he admonished Sweden for not locking down. Now, I think clearly I was right that the lockdowns were dangerous and we shouldn't have done them, but that wasn't exactly my point. My point was I'd be willing to accept lockdowns if the government answered questions proving that we need to sacrifice our rights to save a large amount of lives, which I never felt the government did, nor have they done to this day. But that's an aside. The thing that depressed me wasn't that a bunch of left-wingers were like, yes, we need lockdowns. Of course. They planned on destroying the economy and the middle class. That was their goal all along. So, of course, they were going to endorse a plan that would do just that. The thing that depressed me was how many people I knew from my channel, from websites like Above Top Secret and other places that called themselves constitutional or fiscal conservatives that were big Trump supporters that without question accepted the lockdowns. Yes, we need lockdowns. What's wrong with you? You want grandma to die, Rob? That's what they told me. Not left-wingers. Of course the left-wingers told me that. Of course the Biden supporters told me that. The Obama supporters told me. Of course. They want big government. They want massive government control over the middle class. That's what they want. Not all of them. Many of them were just fearful. But I understand that's where their bias leads to. And I have bias too, so I'm not criticizing them for bias. Yeah, Epic, you're right. On Twitch, you do deal with a lot of young people. Epic says, I suspect you deal with lots of young people on Twitch anyway that haven't lived through enough cycles to see yet what we've seen regarding the media corruption. I expect that's true as well. But these Trump supporters, these conservatives that were telling me, yes, lockdowns are good. Not just lockdowns are good. It wasn't like they were like, well, maybe the lockdowns are good. They were certain. And they said I was immoral for opposing it. That's what they said. And I couldn't believe it. And I think I did a video where I explained this. It's like, look, you could fight anything. And I don't mean physically. I mean mentally, emotionally. You could fight. You could be a fighter. That's what we should all be. We should be fighters for our cause. People ask me all the time, why do you get so angry? My answer to them is, why aren't you? You see this country falling apart? Authoritarians taking control of our country, corruption, a coup against the president, treating the average person like crap, and you're not angry? Of course I'm going to get animated. That's who I am. But you can fight back against massive odds if you have something at your back. And so you have these allies, even if it wasn't many. You had people that were like, yes, the Constitution matters. Yes, this is the greatest country in the history of the world. Yes, the Bill of Rights and the rights outlined in those matter. You had that. That was your backing, and then you knew what direction to push in. What happens when that back falls out? All those people that were there with you, not all of them, but many of them, all of a sudden, instead of pushing with you, they're pushing against you. You feel like you're standing alone at that point, which is fine. I'll stand alone, and I know I wasn't truly alone, but that's fine. I don't care if every single person disagrees with what I'm saying. If they could prove that what I'm saying is wrong, then I'll look into it. Yeah, I hear you. D. Gulag says I'm in Montreal going through lockdown number 3. Now, I know this is repetition, but I've said this over and over again. There were 3 things with the COVID crisis that could harm the United States. The first was the actual disease and how many people would die. I didn't know if it'd be 1,000 or 10 million. I didn't know. But even if it was in the millions, as tragic as it would be, and it would be, don't get me wrong, our country would survive. The second was the things that would come that would be negative as a result of the lockdown, such as economic collapse, people dying of other illnesses, substance abuse, suicides, people not getting proper treatments for cancer, for Alzheimer's, other things like that. I said that my guess is that will be much worse than the first group of people that actually die from COVID. We could face economic repercussions for the next 10 years. However, the U.S. will survive. As bad as that'll be, and it'll be bad. We're just at the tip of the iceberg on that. But the worst thing about this was if Americans are willing to give up their rights anytime the government says boo, that can lead to the end of the country. I have never seen our rights stripped as fast or as cohesively as I have as a result of this lockdown. And also with hypocrisy. If you're on the left, if you're saying you're protesting for Black Lives Matter, you could not only ignore all of the lockdown orders. Hell, it's further than that. You can go out and riot. No problem. You want to loot a Nike store? No problem. You want to go to church? Now we got a big problem. Can't do that. Can't go to work. Can't go to your daughter's wedding. Can't go to your mother's funeral. Can't do any of that. Can't visit your elderly grandparents in the nursing home. Can't do that. You want to go riot? Sure, absolutely. 100,000, you want to go out to scream about how Donald Trump's a racist? Yes, that's a good cause. By all means, go. And we've accepted it. This country's accepted it. Oh, that's just the way it is. And yes, I'm in that boat as well as being a moron that's accepted it. I might come on here and rant and yell. Maybe a lot of other people will as well. Is that changing anything? Nope. Now, Joe Biden, at least a 50-50 shot. I know people think Trump's going to win. I think the corruption will cause Biden to win. We'll see. But Joe Biden, at least 50-50 shot of becoming president. The Democrats, a shot of regaining power. We're rewarding this hypocrisy as a country. Not only do we not fight back, we're going to elect that? That's what we're going to do? I said on this channel, and I stand by this, I said this in March, I failed you. I failed this country. People like me failed this country. Already, even if Trump wins. You know how many lives have been destroyed as a result of these lockdowns? Already? That's on me. Because I mistakenly thought, wow, a lot of people are waking up. We're waking up. We understand the establishment corruption. We understand the media corruption. That's what I believed. We're not going to take it anymore. I was wrong. I got crushed. The establishment laughs at me. They crushed me. It's not even close. And of course, it's not just me. It's any other liberty-minded person that was saying things similar to me. Crushed. You're in New York? Your governor put COVID patients into nursing homes, thereby creating death camps in nursing homes while he forced you to stay at home. And you took it. Period. Thank you, Shawnee. I am pleased with being a first-time dad. That was the low point for me. Not seeing people on the left buy into this garbage, but seeing people on the right. Seeing people that I thought had spent years talking about how corrupt the media was, how corrupt the establishment was, now totally defending we need the lockdowns. Shut up, Rob. Trump said the lockdowns were good, therefore we need them. Now, I think Trump was misguided. I don't think he said it out of malice. I think he said it because that's what the corrupt experts around him are saying. Corrupt or inept, take your pick. And before you say, how dare you, Rob? How dare you criticize the experts? It ain't just me. The World Health Organization came out and said lockdowns are a disaster. So how was it that I was more right than all of the experts? How did that happen? Almost every single time. Because it was common sense. For example, experts in Pennsylvania and in New York and Michigan and New Jersey, the experts whose job it was. This was the biggest moment of their life. Their job was to be pandemic experts. Like in my state, Health Secretary Levine. This is her job. She sees the problem. She goes, okay, so we got this disease, respiratory disease, and it really affects a lot of it. Could be a big danger. Okay. I got that. And we're not sure what it'll do, but we know people with comorbidities are probably most at risk. Okay. I got it. Here's what we'll do. Lock down the population without comorbidities, and then we'll take the COVID patients and put them in nursing homes with the most vulnerable people. There we go. Oh, that led to a bunch of people dying in nursing homes? Oh, as an expert, I couldn't have seen that. I didn't know. How is it that I knew more than that lady who's an expert? How'd that happen? Do I have any expertise in virology, epidemiology? Nope. Just a normal person with common sense. That you can tell me, you can come up next year. I've said this over and over too on my show. You can come up to me next year and go, hey, Rob, there's this new disease coming. Who do you think it'll affect the most? And the very first thing I'll say is probably the elderly. Because their immune systems are usually compromised just from getting old and having other comorbidities. Go ahead, try it. There's a new disease. It's called whatever, bird flu X. Oh my God, it's bird flu exponentially worse. Who do you think will be most affected? The elderly. Wow, I win again. I know more than the experts. How is that possible? 6079 says, much more on cops who willingly enforce unconstitutional edicts, Rob. Those guys should learn from that mistake. That's absolutely true, and I talk about that in this show all the time. Ironically, us, the side that supports the police, we're the side the police target. The police in Philadelphia will sit there and watch a bunch of people that say, death to the police, or ACAB, all cops are bastard, as they burn down the city and loot all these stores. But God forbid you want to wake up in the morning and open your restaurant. They'll be there like that to arrest you with a smile on their face. If you're a police officer, if you keep enforcing these unconstitutional laws and orders, eventually you're going to lose the only allies you have. And then when the mob comes for you, we ain't going to be there to defend you. Just so you know. But 6079 says birds most affected by the bird flu? Perhaps. All right, maybe I was wrong on that one. What that showed to me, though, this whole thing, is just how easy it is to manipulate the masses. Trust in the media is, I think, as an institution, trust in the media is lower than any other institution. I think I read studies that saying 12% of people claim they trust the media. And yet, even with people saying, I think the media is corrupt, I don't trust them, as soon as the media tells you, oh, we're going to censor the Joe Biden story and we're going to push all this crap about Donald Trump, millions of people believe it. As soon as the media tells you, oh, you have to wear a mask everywhere, which again, I do wear a mask, that's my choice, but you have to wear a mask and you have to be locked down, but it's just peaceful protests out there, don't believe that they're riots and they're not spreading the virus. People believe it. How is that possible? How could you know they're corrupt, but still believe every word they say? But that's where we're at. And mark my words, it will only get worse from here. If Trump loses this election, all of the people that engaged in a coup against him will go not only not arrested, but not punished. They will be rewarded. That's what will happen. Just look at Comey. Book deals, deals on CNN, celebrity. All the cool people on the left love him now. Look at this Miles Taylor nobody. What incentive do you have? If you're some no-name involved in the establishment, you're at the State Department, or what incentive do you have to not crush anytime there's a president that the media doesn't like, or anytime there's a politician that the media and the FBI doesn't like? What's your incentive not to do that? To just leak information, to actively work against them within the administration? What's your incentive? You're not going to get punished. You will be handsomely rewarded for it. So you think it's going to stop? 4 years. What this Miles Taylor guy says, I actually believe a lot of it. He's like, you can count the number of people in your hand that are actually Trump allies around him. Yep, I bet that's true. We haven't had a Trump presidency. We had 4 years of the deep state investigating him, ruining his life, making sure that he couldn't do anything effective, and implanting people around him that pretended to be his allies but were sabotaging him the whole time. There has never been a presidency like this. Despite that, Trump still accomplished a lot of good things. And yes, if you're a Trump hater, I will admit, Trump bears some responsibility for putting these people around him. He should have seen, for example, he should have seen months ago that Chris Wray was garbage and was actively working against him. But he didn't. For whatever reason, he didn't fire him. So here we are. He should have insisted that Sessions and Bill Barr act faster on the obvious coup against Trump. But he didn't. So here we are. He should have known John Bolton was garbage, but he didn't, so here we are. The point I'm trying to make is, anytime you suggest some sort of corruption against your opponents, you better be willing for that corruption to be turned on yourself. So let me say something that's hard for me to say. One of the things about me is I could say truthfully, if you go back and you look, didn't have a YouTube channel at the time, wasn't doing online videos, but if you look at my writings on blogs and places like Above Top Secret going into 2016 election, when Trump won, I did not gloat. I didn't. I told people I understood if they hated Trump, why they would feel upset. But that I welcome them trying to work with them to make this country a better place. Trump was the first president in my lifetime that I voted for that got elected. Ron Paul before that, he got screwed over. He didn't get elected. And then before that, I was too young to know. So I know the feeling of supporting a candidate and then they lose. So I didn't gloat. It was what it was. I've said over and over on this show, things like this. What if Donald Trump decided to do the exact same thing to the next administration that Obama did to him? What if he decides to get unverified opposition research from a known foreign spy, have his FBI use that to spy on his opponent without verifying the information, leak all sorts of damaging information to the press to damage the person on the opposite side of him? I said that would be devastating. But I would be opposed to that. I would look at Trump and say, that's terrible. I've talked about censorship. I said, all these people on the left that are for censorship of people like me on the right, don't worry, because if you're ever censored, I would be there for you. Anyone could check my videos. I've always been of that mindset. I'm facing a tough internal dilemma. I don't know if I could do that anymore. Let me give you an example. If you vote for Joe Biden and you've been out there actively voting for them, and Black Lives Matter burns down your home, I don't care anymore. I don't. I say, well, that's what you deserve. You supported burning down inner city black communities. Now that it came to your community, that's what you deserve. Oh, you were upset and you pulled a gun trying to defend your property? Sorry, now you deserve to go to prison, like the McClonskys. I'm sorry. Oh, you and your spouse make their living through fracking and you voted for Joe Biden, and now you're surprised to see that you're going to lose your home as they lost their job? Sorry. Oh, you have family members that die in a foreign war because Joe Biden sent them there? And the press glorified that war, even as you and your family members spoke up that this was a disaster? Sorry. I feel bad for your sibling. I feel bad that you lost someone, but this was predictable. Now, I go back and forth. I'm like bipolar on it. Part of me is like, Rob, don't be like that. You're better than that. But it's getting hard. My friend who does my show, Todd Bartley, who does the Pennsylvania Patriots radio show on Saturdays with me, his car literally got firebombed. Literally. This isn't hyperbole. Literally, his car had a firebomb put on it while he slept in his house with his family. Many of the left-wingers, they don't care. So how is it that people like me and Todd are supposed to care if they're eventually targeted? Now, I'm not going to act, I condemn any violence directed towards anyone politically. I will condemn right-wingers that engage in violence politically. I certainly don't want that. But how can I have empathy for people that want me destroyed? How do I empathize with people that are like, you're a racist, you're a scumbag, you should be deplatformed, you should lose your job? How do I empathize with it? I should get COVID, I should die of COVID. I've heard all of this. How do I empathize with that? There was a bar in my local town that put on Facebook about 2 weeks ago. They struggled. They tried to make it work. They're shutting down forever. It was a bar and restaurant. It's sad. People that work, that build a business, it's shutting down forever. So they put this on Facebook. Within 2 minutes, the first comment appeared. You know what the first comment was? Good. We don't need places like you that peddle alcohol in times of a pandemic. You should be closed forever. How do I empathize with that person? If that lady that said that loses her house and her job, am I supposed to feel bad now? I mean, what do you say? What do you say to people that actively cheered for corruption? It's one thing to be ignorant of it. That's different. That's different. And there are a lot that are ignorant. There are a lot of people that don't understand this media corruption. There are a lot of people that don't understand they're being lied to about Black Lives Matter. That's different. Those people I still empathize with. Absolutely. But the people that know about it, that's who I'm talking about. That cheered it on. I'm supposed to feel bad when it's targeting them? I'm supposed to rush to their aid? You know, you remember the story about this guy? I can't remember the specific details, but he was like chugging beer or something, a particular type of beer, Bud Light or something, before some game. And somehow it went viral and he ended up getting a lot of donations and he donated all of the money to a children's hospital. And so then whatever the beer company was decided to work with him, give him a bunch of gear, and also made a donation to this children's hospital. Well, the local journalist, wherever they were, Kansas or something like that, decided, oh, we're going to go through this guy's tweets his entire life. And they found one tweet that was arguably racist, which caused the beer company to stop the endorsement, which caused tens of thousands of dollars to no longer flow to this children's hospital. Okay? Within 24 hours, the journalist that did this, they looked into his past tweets, and there were dozens of racist and homophobic tweets. Am I supposed to feel bad for that journalist? Because the exact same thing he did to someone else was then used against him? Of course, he played the victim. Oh, these are right-wingers coming after me. This is terrible. I was just doing my job. In Scotland, they proposed a bill, a hate speech bill, that says if you're at the dinner table with family members and you witness them say something hateful and report it, that's good enough to arrest that person. That's our future. That's what's coming if we don't change. Am I supposed to feel bad when that person that gleefully reports his relatives ultimately gets reported and says, but wait a minute, I did nothing. Am I supposed to feel bad for that? How? I'm only human. I try. I understand what the moral thing is to do. I understand that I'm supposed to forgive. But how can I? Realistically, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I get, and that the one who tube says it. I understand. We're supposed to follow a Christ-like mentality. That's how I try to live my life. But it's getting hard. So anyways, this whole rant was just to say, if you vote for this, if you sanction the media behaving as censors, as total control of the flow of information, don't be surprised when they censor you or censor causes that you like. Don't be surprised. Or don't be surprised when they bury stories into arguments you don't like or ideas that you don't like. Don't be shocked. You don't think, like, so many people on the left have a problem with, like, the defense industry, the military industrial complex. You don't think that they're going to take advantage of this? You don't see that? I don't want to hear you griping. I don't want to hear it. You signed off for this. I don't want to hear it when you decide you want to vote for Jill Stein 4 years from now. And the intelligence community spies on her and smears her as a Russian asset. I don't want to hear it. You endorsed that. And now, just like, and I just don't understand. How many times do you have to show these people? Like, look at all the city council people in Seattle now going, oh, where are all the police? Things are getting bad here. We're questioning where the police are. You wanted rid of them. We told you anyone with half a brain could see what would happen. Look at the Chaz zone, the Chomp zone. It took 2 weeks for it to become a hellhole. We all knew it. We said, this is what you want? Fine, here you go. And then they're shocked. We can't believe when we just threw dirt down on the cement and then planted seeds that they didn't grow. We couldn't believe that when we eliminated the police that strong men took their place and started murdering African-American youths. We can't believe it. Oh my God, this is a total surprise. We had no clue this would happen. That's exactly right, Epic. Epic says, I don't want to hear when the left complain when Joe Biden gives them a couple new wars after Trump gave them none. Exactly. And I guarantee that is a prediction I'm confident in. If Joe Biden wins within 4 years of him or probably Kamala Harris taking over shortly after, we will be involved in another war. The party of peace. Look at them foam at the mouth as Trump suggests pulling out of Afghanistan. You don't think that they're going to actively put more troops overseas? I'm with you, Epic. I don't want to hear it. The problem is, though, Epic, the left won't care. Almost everyone on the left will say, yes, this war is good. You're xenophobic if you don't like this war. That's what they'll tell you. It's becoming the book 1984. War is peace. The truth is a lie. That's what it's becoming. I mean, think of the positions. You're xenophobic if you want to bring troops out of the Middle East. That makes you a xenophobe. Middle East peace deals are bad, according to people like Keith Olbermann. Chris Hayes. What? If you're against suburban whites going into inner city black communities and lighting fires, you're a racist. The anti-racist position saying, yes, I'm glad that a bunch of white people are starting fires in black neighborhoods. If you don't believe that there are Russians under every bed and every story critical of anyone on the left is Russian disinformation and that it's, quote, an act of war from Russia to be doing this stuff, you're xenophobic. They are everything they accuse you of, and millions of people buy it, hook, line, and sinker. They absolutely buy it. If you have a problem with the statement, you're not really black unless you vote Joe Biden or vote Democrat, you're a racist. You have to believe only if you're black, you vote for Joe Biden. You have to. So when they start another war, they'll say, yes, this war is peace. Joe Biden started a war, give him a Nobel Peace Prize. That's a peaceful war. Just like the freedom fires that we see from all the peaceful protests lighting cities on fire. If Joe Biden starts the war, that's Nobel Peace Prize worthy. That's peace. If Don Jr. gets elected after that and says, we're going to end this war, that's xenophobic. That's racist to end that war. That's a peaceful war. Clearly, the fact that Republicans or someone like Trump would be against that war means that they're pro-war. Do you understand? It's peaceful to go to the wars the Democrats want. And if you reject those wars, then you're a warmonger. Do you see? Do you see how it works? Oh, great. We got a big brain person on YouTube. Billy Bob says, Trump will pull out. He never pulls out of Trump's orifices. Well, hey, I've said over and over again, if it looks like Trump committed adultery, I'm not cool with that. I think it's bad. But I don't vote for people based on their foibles and their moral indiscretions. I guess if I had to pick, I would rather have a president that cheated on his wife, which is terrible, than one that can't stop sniffing little girls' hair. But Billy Bob, as a traditional leftist, you probably totally support the idea of making young girls feel uncomfortable. So I see that. You say, Trump always says he wants to steal other countries' resources, turd brain. In fact, a Libya war supporter and on-off Gulf War fan. Yes, and this is something that I always like from the left. They're more upset about Trump's words than they are about when the left actually does what Trump suggests he might. So yes, I was against Trump saying that he wants to steal countries' resources, but he hasn't. He hasn't started any of these wars. That's the left. So I always find it funny when the left says, my God, you know what Trump might do? He might be a disaster for foreign policy. The Middle East might get set on fire because of Trump's rhetoric and what he does. Yet instead what we see is historic peace deals. Now they're the president of peace, Barack Obama, he couldn't wait to get us inflamed in the Middle East and in Africa and places like Libya. Couldn't wait. But they're more concerned about Trump's mean words than they are the actual wars that are being declared by the people on the left. Absolutely, Geeter Dunn. That's absolutely. Many Republicans like war too. That's why they don't like Trump. Absolutely. Trump's big sin, the reason that the establishment Republicans and Democrats came after him, Chuck Schumer said it best. Right at the beginning, before Trump was even sworn in office when he won, he said Trump can't criticize the intel community or they'll find 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at him. That was the leader of the Democratic Party telling you that the most powerful elected leader of the free world needs to be fearful of unelected bureaucrats. And the left was perfectly fine with that. The same people that criticized the CIA for lying us into the Iraq war now cheers the CIA attacking Trump nonstop for the sin of wanting to pull us out of wars. Epic says, I think the media is losing power. The more egregious they become and the longer there are few Democrats and few Republicans, they're almost the members of the establishment party. I understand that, but I think that I'm going to have to disagree with you, Epic. If the media is losing power and if people are waking up to this, why do we still in Pennsylvania have restaurants at 20% capacity while Philadelphia is on fire? Why are so many people willing to accept the lockdown while they see the very same media and politicians that are embracing that totally cover for riots and protests in the hundreds of thousands? Yeah, maybe the media is losing power in the fact that people don't believe them anymore. Doesn't matter. Their edicts still stand and people don't challenge them. They might grumble at home. Oh, this sucks. I'm losing my home. I can't go visit mom in the nursing home. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to do anything about it. Billy Bob with some more big brain takes says, Trump is a pathological liar who effectively murdered 200,000. Joke. I've argued against that like a million times on here, but whatever. A genocide! Yeah, how many people would have died under Hillary Clinton? What would she have done different? Let's see. What was Joe Biden's plan? Well, first, he was against what even the New York Times claims, and New Zealand, which we're supposed to look at as the model, claimed was the most effective step to combating coronavirus, which was locking down from places like China. The Democrats were against that. So right out of the gate, the very first thing Trump did, the Democrats were against. Then what would the Democrats have done differently? Well, can anyone give me... Joe Biden's plan's just, I would do Donald Trump's plan. That's the Democrats' big plan. What would they have done differently? You say he called dead soldiers suckers and losers. No, he didn't prove it. Some anonymous source said that. I find it funny that people like you, Billy Bob, when whistleblowers come on record like Tony Bablinski with actual evidence proving their allegations, you refuse to look at them or call them a liar. But when we have some anonymous source that says Trump called soldiers suckers or losers, you believe it with no proof whatsoever. And he called me a dipshit deplorable because, as always, with the weak-minded people like you that just believe all of the garbage that's fed to them by the establishment. All you have is insults when people disprove your garbage points with actual facts. Tell you what, Billy Bob, some of your left-wing champions will be debating me tonight. So, yeah, I do have to wrap up here. And the reason is I would be happy to stick around and talk with everyone. Apparently, there's a planned power outage at 9 a.m. here in my area. So any moment now, the power might go out. So before it does, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate, or this morning. Let me tell you what's coming up tonight. Tonight, I will be debating from 6 to 8 on the Biden corruption scandal. And then after that, I'm doing Dylan Burns' show. It's a 4-on-4 panel, which I don't like the 4-on-4s. But a bigger Twitch streamer named Destiny, a big left-wing streamer, and me will be debating about who should be elected, Trump or Biden. So I'll be debating for like 5 hours nonstop. That starts at 6 p.m. tonight. Hopefully they're better than Billy Bob here that just call me a dipshit deplorable because he doesn't have an argument. So we'll see. Hopefully it's more entertaining than that. But if it's Billy Bob and people like him, then it'll be entertaining to watch me shellac them like always. I would appreciate your support, though, if you could watch me, because Destiny's crowd alone will be 5,000 to 6,000 people that will just call me fat, dipshit deplorable like Billy Bob here. So it's nice to know there are people supporting you, because the overwhelming audience will be young people that are extreme left-wing progressives or communists. But that's okay. Even if there's no one there to support me, I'll be absolutely fine. The other note I wanted to make was about my Monday show, the 24-hour show. If you weren't here at the top of the show, that show is going to get... I'm going to have a lot of awesome guests. I have at least one congressman, at least 2 people that are in Pennsylvania state politics. I think that I have the creators of the movie Unplanned, which was the abortion film. I think Dean Cain was in it. That basically theaters were censoring everywhere. So I think I have the producers and writers of that movie that are going to be on. There's other potential big name voices that I have coming on, in addition to people in local politics and a lot of people that you guys are familiar with, independent content creators. Plus I'll be doing call-ins. So again, that's Monday, coming up Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. I'll be doing a live 24-hour show. So I should have a lot of great guests. It should be a lot of fun. We're going to try to do like a financial drive for that to help my show increase. And hopefully then I got some irons in the fire. Hopefully I have some good news about the direction that this channel is going and possible getting some more national attention from this channel. So stay tuned for that. And I'd really, really appreciate your support Monday with all of these great guests that I'm having on. It would be nice to have a big audience for that. So thank you, everyone, so much that's been here. You guys are great. Even people like Billy Bob, thank you. You come on, you disagree. I mean, you got to get your disagreement game up other than just calling. Let's read Billy Bob's last comment here. The left likes wars, hippies, and peace types. The right are literal jackboot-wearing, gun-touting sadists. You grifting, gaslighting turd. Wow. Well, good alliteration, if nothing else. Yeah, how many wars did Trump get us into? Now let's look at Obama. If the left hates wars, what'd they say about Libya? If the left hates wars, why are they foaming at the mouth when Trump suggests pulling out of places like Syria and Afghanistan? They hate wars. What a joke. Yes, you're right. They claim to be hippies and things like that, but they're lying. Really, they're the grifters. They claim to be the party of peace while they're advocating for all of these wars. Billy Bob says 1984 was written by a guy who saw your type as a problem. He was a socialist. Billy Bob, you're so ill-informed. For example, if you go read The Road to Wigan Pier that was written by George Orwell, it was wrote in serial format, so he was paid by socialists in London to write that book. What he did was he went to this place called Wigan Pier where a bunch of people were coal miners. So he gets there, and the first half of the book is him talking about the horrible conditions that these coal miners live in. Like, for example, almost none of the women have teeth because there's no dental care there because they're so poor, so they rip their teeth out before they could get infections. Men are permanently hunched over as they have to climb miles just to get to work in the mines in a permanent hunched over state. They live in these longhouses that only have 1 or 2 longhouses per outhouses per hundreds of people. So oftentimes they had to walk barefoot in the snow like half a mile just to wait in line to use an outhouse. He talks about how horrible these conditions were. That's the first half of the book. The second half of the book is him saying, Despite all of this, he has a sneaking suspicion that the socialists that paid him to write the book and all of these prominent socialists, it's not that they care about the poor people. It's that they hate anyone who has more power than them. In other words, he is critiquing the socialist because they don't want to make life better for the people in Wigan Pier. They don't care at all about them. They're using them as a tool to obtain more power for themselves. But Billy Bob, as the great historian, I'm sure you knew that, right? Right? Oh, wait, no. You missed that part, right? Please. Anytime, man. You can come on the show anytime and drop some of your logic bombs on us. You're doing such a great job via typing, so... Oh, yeah, Bear, that's just it. How many times has the left's fear-mongering guy? Trump, that was the big complaint about Trump, was foreign policy. Can't trust him with his finger on the nuclear weapons. My God, he'll just go to war all over the place. Yet he goes to less wars than any president since Reagan. Huh. Wow, isn't that weird? Just like, oh, if we didn't lock down, it'd be catastrophic. Millions would die. Yet a place like Sweden that never locked down. Where were the millions dead? I didn't see it. No, Billy Bob, you're nonsense. If you can't get through one sentence without saying the word turd, then maybe you're not as smart as you think you are. You go ahead. You project. You're the party of peace, right? Your party and all the people that were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, they're not really pedophiles. Epstein was a good guy. We get it. Bill Clinton, good guy. We get it. I don't understand why people like you come on my channel. I'm grateful that you do. All you do is make me look good. All you do is prove every stereotype that so many people make about people on the left. You literally bring no facts to the table. You just spew insults and one-liners that you've heard from the Young Turks or CNN. As soon as your point's debunked, you just move on to another point, which then I debunk. Then you move on to another point. I oftentimes think that you people are trolls that are just here. You're actually fans of mine that create accounts just to make me look good because that's how stupid you come off as sounding. And it's not that I'm someone who's overly intelligent. It's that you're that dumb. That's the problem. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. I do have to get running because the power will go out. If I don't shut the video off before the power goes out, then it'll just stay up like it's running live for hours and it'll be a big mess. So, all right. So, gotta go, Gizmo. Thanks. All right, we'll talk to you all soon. Come back here at 6 p.m. Eastern time to see me debating for 5 hours. So, 6 p.m. tonight, I'd appreciate the support. As always, have a good one, man.